In a dramatic escalation of trade tensions, Canada has unveiled a $110 billion countermeasure targeting the U.S. energy sector, a move that threatens to cripple the American economy and serves as a direct rebuttal to President Donald Trump's aggressive tariff policies. This unprecedented action underscores the fragility of international trade relationships and highlights the profound economic interdependence between the two nations. The roots of this confrontation trace back to President Trump's imposition of sweeping tariffs on imports from Canada, Mexico, and China. Citing national security concerns and aiming to protect domestic industries, the administration implemented a 25% tariff on a broad range of Canadian imports, with a slightly reduced 10% tariff specifically targeting Canadian energy resources. These measures were justified as necessary to address issues such as illegal immigration and drug trafficking. However, these tariffs have been met with fierce opposition from U.S. allies, particularly Canada, which views them as unjustified and harmful to the long-standing economic partnership between the two countries. The Canadian government has expressed deep disappointment, emphasizing that such actions will increase costs for consumers, jeopardize thousands of jobs, and weaken North America's global competitiveness. In response to the U.S. tariffs, Canada has announced a robust retaliatory package totaling $110 billion, focusing primarily on the energy sector, a critical component of the U.S. economy. This countermeasure includes imposing tariffs on U.S. energy imports, restricting exports of essential energy resources to the United States, and exploring alternative markets for Canadian energy products. Ontario Premier Doug Ford has been particularly vocal, threatening to cut off energy exports to U.S. states such as Michigan, New York, and Wisconsin if the tariffs are not lifted. Ford emphasized the need to protect Canadian interests and signaled readiness to use every available measure to counteract the U.S. actions. The implications of Canada's retaliatory measures are profound. The United States relies heavily on Canadian energy imports, with Canada supplying approximately 60% of U.S. crude oil imports. Disruptions in this supply chain could lead to significant increases in energy prices, affecting everything from gasoline costs to home heating expenses. The Midwest region, in particular, which depends on Canadian crude for its refineries, could experience price hikes of up to 50 cents per gallon. Moreover, the energy sector's contraction could have cascading effects across the U.S. economy. Industries reliant on affordable energy, such as manufacturing and transportation, may face increased operational costs, potentially leading to job losses and reduced economic growth. The Tax Foundation estimates that the tariffs could reduce U.S. GDP by 0.4% and result in the loss of approximately 309,000 full-time equivalent jobs. Beyond the immediate impact on energy prices and employment, the escalating trade war poses risks to various sectors. The biofuels industry, for instance, is already experiencing contractions due to policy uncertainties and trade disruptions. Companies in both the U.S. and Canada are reducing production, which affects farmers who supply crops for biofuel production and undermines efforts to promote renewable energy sources. Additionally, the agricultural sector faces challenges as retaliatory tariffs may target U.S. exports, leading to decreased demand for American produce and further straining rural economies. The interconnectedness of supply chains means that disruptions in one area can have far-reaching consequences, highlighting the complexity of modern trade relationships. Politically, Canada's decisive response serves as a stark warning to the Trump administration about the perils of protectionist policies. By targeting the energy sector, a cornerstone of the U.S. economy, Canada is signaling its willingness to leverage its strategic assets in defense of its economic interests. This standoff also places pressure on U.S. lawmakers, particularly those from states that will be directly affected by rising energy costs and potential job losses. The prospect of constituents facing higher prices at the pump and increased heating bills could lead to bipartisan calls for a reassessment of the current trade strategy. This is not the first time Canada has employed energy policy as a tool in trade disputes. In the 1970s, under Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau, Canada imposed taxes on oil exports to the U.S. to combat rising domestic prices and inflation. These historical precedents underscore Canada's capacity and willingness to use its energy resources strategically in international relations. Looking ahead, the escalation of this trade conflict raises concerns about a prolonged economic downturn. Analysts warn that continued tit-for-tat measures could lead to a full-scale trade war, with detrimental effects on global markets. The uncertainty surrounding trade policies may also deter investment, further hampering economic growth. Canada's $110 billion energy countermeasure represents a significant escalation in trade tensions with the United States, directly challenging President Trump's tariff policies. This move not only threatens to disrupt the U.S. energy sector, but also serves as a broader indictment of protectionist strategies that overlook the complexities of global economic interdependence. As both nations brace for the fallout, the situation underscores the urgent need for dialogue and cooperation to prevent further economic harm and to preserve the long-standing partnership that has benefited both countries for decades. In the face of escalating trade tensions and shifting geopolitical dynamics, Canada is actively redefining its international alliances, seeking to strengthen partnerships with the European Union and other global players. This strategic realignment aims to diversify Canada's economic relationships, reduce its dependence on the United States, and assert its sovereignty on the world stage. The historically close relationship between Canada and the United States has been under significant strain due to recent policy shifts by the U.S. administration. In February 2025, President Donald Trump imposed a 25% tariff on all imports from Canada and Mexico, citing concerns over illegal immigration and drug trafficking. This move has been perceived by many as an unjustified economic assault, prompting Canada to reassess its trade dependencies and seek alternative partnerships. In response to the challenges posed by U.S. trade policies, Canada has intensified efforts to bolster its relationship with the European Union. The Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, provisionally in force since 2017, has already facilitated a 65% increase in bilateral trade between Canada and the EU. Building on this foundation, Canadian Trade Minister Mary Ng visited Brussels to discuss further enhancing trade relations with EU Trade Commissioner Maroš Šefčovič. Key topics included simplifying market access for small and medium-sized enterprises, collaborating on critical minerals, and exploring energy export opportunities to Europe. The EU, facing its own challenges due to U.S. tariffs, has shown receptiveness to deepening economic ties with Canada. Both parties recognize the mutual benefits of a strengthened partnership, particularly in promoting fair trade practices and reducing reliance on unpredictable trade partners. Beyond Europe, Canada is actively seeking to diversify its trade relationships worldwide. The government has launched initiatives to expand trade opportunities in Southeast Asia, recognizing the region's growing economic significance. Efforts include strengthening economic partnerships and opening new doors for Canadian businesses in the Indo-Pacific. Additionally, Canada has initiated negotiations to modernize existing trade agreements, such as the Foreign Investment Promotion and Protection Agreement, or FIPA, with Uruguay. These steps reflect Canada's commitment to broadening its trade portfolio and reducing vulnerability to economic pressures from any single nation. The trade conflict with the United States has prompted significant domestic reactions in Canada. Prime Minister Mark Carney has called for a snap election on April 28, 2025, seeking a strong mandate to address the economic challenges posed by U.S. tariffs. Carney has labeled the trade actions as the most significant crisis of our lifetimes, emphasizing the need for decisive leadership. Public sentiment has also shifted, with a notable decline in Canadian travel to the U.S. and a growing movement to support domestic products over American goods. Statistics Canada reported a 23% drop in Canadian drivers traveling to the U.S. in February compared to the previous year, indicating a tangible response to the trade dispute. The idea of Canada joining the European Union has gained traction amid these geopolitical shifts. A March 2025 poll conducted by Abacus Data revealed that 46% of Canadians support exploring EU membership, while 29% oppose it. Although such a move would face significant legal and geographical hurdles, the growing public interest underscores the desire for closer ties with Europe. While diversifying trade alliances presents opportunities, it also poses challenges. Establishing new trade agreements is a complex and time-consuming process, requiring alignment on various economic and regulatory standards. Additionally, Canada's efforts to strengthen ties with other nations must be balanced with maintaining existing relationships and navigating the intricacies of global politics. Furthermore, while public support for exploring new alliances is growing, there remains a segment of the population cautious about moving away from traditional partnerships. Ensuring that diversification efforts translate into tangible economic benefits for Canadians will be crucial in maintaining public support. Canada's proactive approach in seeking new alliances with the European Union and other nations reflects a strategic response to the evolving global trade landscape. By diversifying its economic partnerships, Canada aims to reduce its reliance on the United States, enhance its economic resilience, and assert its sovereignty on the international stage. While challenges remain, these efforts position Canada to navigate current uncertainties and build a more robust and diversified economic future. In a significant escalation of trade tensions, China has imposed a 25% tariff on American automobiles, delivering a substantial blow to the U.S. auto industry and directly challenging President Donald Trump's aggressive trade policies. This move underscores the intensifying global trade disputes and highlights the vulnerabilities within the U.S. economy. The origins of this conflict trace back to President Trump's implementation of tariffs on imports from China, Canada, and Mexico, citing national security concerns and aiming to protect domestic industries. In response, China announced retaliatory tariffs, including a 25% levy on U.S. automobiles, effective March 10, 2025. The imposition of these tariffs has profound implications for the U.S. automotive sector. American automakers, who have been exporting vehicles to China, now face increased costs that may render their products less competitive in the Chinese market. This could lead to a significant decline in sales and revenue. For instance, luxury brands such as BMW and Audi, which export vehicles to China, have already experienced setbacks due to previous trade disputes. Additionally, the tariffs may force U.S. automakers to reassess their supply chains and production strategies. Companies might consider shifting production to other countries to circumvent the tariffs, potentially leading to job losses and economic downturns in regions dependent on auto manufacturing. The ripple effects of China's tariffs extend beyond the auto industry. Consumers are likely to face higher prices for vehicles as manufacturers pass on the increased costs. Studies estimate that these tariffs could add as much as $6,400 to the cost of a $30,000 vehicle in the U.S. The global trade landscape is undergoing a seismic shift, with Canada emerging as a key player in redefining economic alliances. As tensions with the United States escalate due to aggressive tariff policies, Canada has chosen to pivot towards new and more stable economic partnerships. This strategic move is not just about securing trade deals, it is about securing the nation's economic future, reducing dependency on the United States, and expanding global influence. For decades, the United States has been Canada's largest trading partner, a relationship that has been largely beneficial. However, recent events have exposed the risks of over-reliance on a single economic ally. President Donald Trump's decision to impose a 25% tariff on all Canadian imports has forced Canada to rethink its economic strategies. The tariffs, aimed at strengthening the United States economy, have instead triggered retaliatory measures from Canada, leading to economic instability on both sides of the border. Canadian businesses, farmers, and manufacturers who have long depended on the United States market are now facing uncertainty. With exports becoming more expensive, Canadian industries are at risk of losing their competitive edge. In response, Canada is forging stronger ties with the European Union, Southeast Asia, and other global partners. This shift signifies a long-term strategy to break free from economic reliance on the United States and build a more diverse and resilient economy. One of Canada's boldest moves has been to strengthen its trade relationship with the European Union. The Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, or CETA, which has been in place since 2017, has already boosted trade between Canada and the EU. But now discussions are underway to expand trade agreements further, focusing on critical sectors such as energy, technology, and natural resources. Why the EU? 1. A stable trade partner. The EU has remained a reliable economic force, unlike the unpredictable policies coming from Washington. 2. A market of over 450 million consumers. Canada gains access to one of the world's largest and most advanced consumer markets. 3. Diversification of exports. Instead of relying solely on U.S. demand, Canada can sell its products and resources across multiple regions, reducing economic risk. While Europe presents a promising alternative, Southeast Asia has also emerged as an important region for Canadian trade expansion. With booming economies such as Japan, South Korea, India, and members of the CPTPP, or Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, Canada is exploring new avenues to ensure that its goods and services reach high-growth markets. Several key developments signal this shift. Bilateral trade discussions with India, focusing on agricultural exports and technology collaborations. Expanded partnerships with Japan and South Korea in the automobile and manufacturing sectors. Increased exports of Canadian energy resources to emerging Asian economies. Canada's economic realignment has sparked heated political debates at home and abroad. Prime Minister Mark Carney's decision to call a snap election on April 28, 2025, reflects the growing urgency of these economic changes. The election will be a defining moment in Canadian politics, as voters decide whether to support this shift away from traditional U. Meanwhile, in the United States, there are growing concerns about the long-term consequences of Trump's tariff war. Several U.S. states that depend heavily on Canadian trade, such as Michigan, New York, and Wisconsin, have already begun lobbying against the tariffs. As economic pressure mounts, Trump's administration may find itself forced to renegotiate trade policies, but by then, Canada may have moved too far in a different direction. One of the most radical ideas emerging from this situation is the potential for Canada to join the European Union. While this idea remains largely hypothetical, recent public polls show that nearly 46% of Canadians are open to exploring EU membership. Such a move would be unprecedented, but it highlights the growing frustration with U.S. policies and the desire for a more stable economic future. However, this transition would come with significant challenges, legal and geographical complexities, reworking economic policies to align with EU standards, and the potential loss of existing trade privileges with the U.S. While full EU membership may be unlikely, deeper economic integration with Europe is almost certain in the years to come. Despite the promising opportunities of new trade partnerships, this shift is not without its challenges and risks. Canada must navigate a complex global trade environment, balancing its relationships with different regions while maintaining its economic interests. Key challenges include building trust with new partners, as trade negotiations with the EU and Asia take time and patience. Managing domestic economic stability, where the Canadian government must support businesses transitioning away from U.S. dependency. Ensuring political unity, as not all Canadians support distancing from the U.S. Some believe maintaining strong relations with the U.S. is crucial for long-term economic security. For businesses, the trade shift means new opportunities in European and Asian markets, but also the challenge of adapting to new regulations and consumer demands. For workers, industries that heavily relied on U.S. exports, such as automobile manufacturing and agriculture, may face job losses or relocations. However, growth in technology, renewable energy, and international trade services could create new job opportunities. For consumers, the impact may be mixed. Some imported goods may become more expensive due to shifting trade routes. Locally produced products could become more competitive, strengthening domestic industries. Canada's decision to distance itself from the United States sends a strong message to the international community. It signals the rise of a more multipolar world, where nations are not bound by single economic superpowers, but instead form diverse, flexible alliances. If Canada successfully diversifies its economy, it could become a global model for trade independence and economic stability. Other nations struggling with trade dependency may follow Canada's lead, creating a more balanced and fair global economy. Canada's shift away from U.S. economic reliance is one of the most significant trade transformations in modern history. This new chapter brings both challenges and opportunities, but one thing is certain: Canada is taking control of its economic destiny. The decisions made today will shape the country's future for generations to come. Whether through stronger ties with Europe, Asia, or other global partners, Canada is proving that adaptability and resilience are key to thriving in an ever-changing world. But what do you think? Do you support Canada's move towards new alliances? Should Canada maintain its economic ties with the U.S., or seek full independence from American trade policies? Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more insightful updates on global trade, politics, and economics. Stay tuned for more, and thank you for watching.